Welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott and you and I are going to go through a manga haul for the month of January of over 40 volumes. And the goal of this video is to share everything that I read and give you an idea of like, hey, should you pick this up? Is this worth it for you as we go through this haul as I try to read everything that I pick up. And I'd love to know before we get started in the comments below, what did you either read or pick up this past month, as I love hearing in the community what other people are reading, what other people are buying. And you know what? One of these things I picked up was because of a recommendation from one of you guys. So hey, keep those recommendations coming. I love them, and that way I can give my thoughts and then more people in the community can know about so many wonderful series, as this is a great time to be a manga collector. This is a great time to get started in manga, as there's so many wonderful series that are ongoing and new that are coming out. With that said, let's go ahead and get started with our first section of this video, which is ongoing or missing titles that I received from Viz Media. And the first I picked up was Moriarty the Patriot Volume 16 and 17. You're like, Scott, why did you go back to the series? I thought you said you're going to pause on it. This is a Sherlock Holmes series, a detective. Well, the reason why is I didn't realize we almost had the entire series. It actually ends with Volume 19. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just wait till I get the entire series. It comes out, I think, within 2 months, Volume 19. I think it's by April. Have this whole series, we can do a review, because I don't see enough people talking about this. I originally got the entire series because Viz Media, before they increased their prices, I was like, let's just get the series, it's on my radar. So that's what I picked up first. And then next going off, we got Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 24. This is a series that I paused. I didn't actually like it as much as I thought. And I even watched the whole anime the first season. I could not get it. I even saw the movie Zero, and for some reason I was still struggling about Volume 12. So I need to get back into Jujutsu Kaisen. This is part of the Unholy Trinity, which also connects with Hell's Paradise and also Chainsaw Man. So with that, we're just waiting a little bit more. I think it ended with 27 volumes, so we're close. We're going to go ahead and we're going to read the whole thing and go ahead and I'll give you my thoughts to give a full review. I actually paused on doing a review because I want to do a whole thing and we can finally conclude the Unholy Trinity. Next I picked up was Dark Gathering Volume 10. This is a spooky series. Now this one I did pause on as I was waiting for several volumes to come, and I'm actually not going to be picking up any more Dark Gathering until I have a chance to read it. I read the first volume and I thought it was good enough to keep going, but then I had issues where I was getting other volumes of Volume 2 for some reason was stuck in transit to get for a while. So with that, we sadly have not read that. Yes, Scott, here's a lot of things. Usually I read everything I picked up. Siren Volume 7. I gotta say thank you so much for Mary Manga for getting this in. Now, it's not a reprint, but it looks like Viz Media found some of the older volumes and decided to ship them out. And so I'm trying to pull up for you on this one alone. When was this one published? Well, we got lovely advertisements here, so let's see if it's part here. Oh, third printing July 2017. So Siren is a series I've been wanting to collect for a very long time. I actually now have over half. I have 9 of 16 volumes. I don't know when it's going to be reprinted, as this was one that wasn't delisted. So Viz Media, for watching, please, I'm waiting for this to be reprinted. I ordered the whole series a long time ago, and for some reason not being shipped. And here's an interesting thing is, others been asking, is Right Stuff Anime, which is now owned by Crunchyroll, are they shipping previous titles that you ordered a long time ago? In this case, they should have got Siren. I don't understand why they wouldn't have got Siren Volume 7. This is on Amazon, tons of places got shipments of this when it was available again. It should have gone on there, but I've noticed that what I don't like right now is Crunchyroll has actually removed several things and it's just not even available. Earlier, before I looked for Siren, I couldn't find anything. Then I typed Siren again the other day, and now there's 1 volume available. It doesn't even show things for back order at all. So I'm a little annoyed that, you know, the request we wanted that you can now back order things, they added that, but at the same time removed so many series that we were waiting to get reprinted from Viz Media. So I don't know if Siren will be reprinted this year. I do hope so. It's one of those ones I've been wanting to collect for a long time. There's my soapbox on that. And then I picked up Sephra of the End Volume 31. Now, this is a series that's monthly, so I paused on and said I was going to pick this up and not pick up any more Sephra of the End, because I got almost all first 30 volumes super cheap for a great deal online. Or I think I met someone locally for it. And there's 33 available, and people are saying it's going to be a very long time before we get any more. So I was like, well, let's just go pick it up. So as you see, not very big on the whole here, but we have it for Viz Media. Let's go on to some stuff I've read a bunch of, and this is now going to be ongoing or missing titles that are received from Yen Press, and part of the Yen Press, or the Eyes Press line, which I absolutely love. This is touring after the apocalypse. This reminds me a little bit of like a Studio Ghibli ish of the slice of life, as you're following these two girls over here as they're on this little vehicle here, and they're just touring through and looking at different places in Japan, and there's just no other current life that they can find. So you're seeing them just experience different parts of Japan, but looking through a futurist perspective. Very wholesome, and this one had a little bit of action, which I was surprised. But, you know, there's only 5 volumes out, and then the one thing is a bummer, it's now like a year before we get a volume, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's enough for me to keep reading. If you're looking for a cozy slice of life series, I'm actually really enjoying Touring After the Apocalypse, and they say if you like Girls' Last Tour, I think you're going to like this one as well. What else did we pick up? Ooh, this is a doozy. No Longer Heroine Volume 8. I have a love-hate relationship with this series, as I was annoyed with some of the volumes. I've almost dropped the series, but I keep coming back for it. And man, just, you really want to root for the heroine. You really want to root for the main girl, but she is just all over the place, not making good choices. And then the main guy you hope that she's going to fall in love with, he's not making good choices. He's being extra clingy. And man, I'm really curious how this is going to end now. This is a really interesting, just messy drama. High school antics of messy people. They don't know what they want, and they're basing things off feelings, or they're hyper needy, or they have to be with somebody, and you're not seeing too much of independence, and just people are attracted to these needy people, and just, it does not make sense. But I don't know why, I can't stop reading it. So there's only a couple of volumes left. Next we picked up, this is really good. This was on my most top 10 unrated series, is one I recommend. This is Tojo Oni, the Primal Gods in Ancient Times. Now, it does say parental discretion advised, so it's not hyper on the adult content, but there is a little bit. So just as a caution, those out there, always read. The first volume wasn't sealed at all and was fine, and then it was second and so forth. I understand why it was sealed, but it's not super heavy on the adult content, but it's very interesting seeing this girl who's going to be sacrificed to the gods, and then a person comes along and ends up saving her, and they're traveling these different gods, and there's just a really good world building, following things in I think 1500s in Japan, or 1600s in Japan, and I don't know, it might be 1800s, but it's a longer time. It's not modern times, but I'm really enjoying seeing there's times where they're in the future, times they're in the past, and you're just like, what is going on? I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far. So even with 5 volumes, man, this was a thick volume, which is great. I always love when we get extra pages for our money. I'm really enjoying this series. I don't know, enough people aren't talking about it. Let's talk about a series if you like solo leveling and you're looking for something that scratches that same itch. And this has egotistical to the max. Everything always goes well for this person, so that bothers me a little bit. I would like to see him get knocked down a peg every time in there, but it doesn't happen. But this is a very good just popcorn series, and that is Tomb Raider King. This is volume 9. I've just continued to enjoy the series, and it's almost completed, and I don't know, it's weird because it doesn't feel like here that it's wrapping up soon, but I know it is. But I don't know why, I thoroughly enjoy every time I get a new haul of books. This is one of the first ones I read. Is if I'm looking for something, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, but I want to check my brain out, but just good entertainment. This has just been a very just good series. Again, scratches that same itch so lovely. I don't think it's on the same par, but you know, for what it is, Tomb Raider King has been very good. And then we picked up the Business Proposal Volume 7. The Business Proposal, this is a great Korean drama story. I've only read the first 4 volumes, so I'm not caught up. This was actually I'm on volume 4. Volume 4 is what I'm currently have on my nightstand right now. I was trying to read the rest of my haul first, and you're just following this girl who she originally helps a friend by going out on a blind date just to do a favor for a friend, and that person ends up liking her. She doesn't want anything to do with him. She tried to make it the worst date in the world, and this guy who's Mr. Efficient says, well, I'm just gonna marry her anyways. Don't want to go through this dating thing again. So very funny. If you like a good romantic comedy, man, I've just really enjoyed this series so far. And then another series that should have no introduction. I actually like this better than Solo Leveling. It scratches that same itch, but so much more better and satisfying. And that is The Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. This is volume 5. This is a story about a guy who ends up, he's the only one who completes and reads this entire series on like a webtoons type of thing, novel, where there's one chapter at a time, and he's the one who reads the last one. Nobody else reads it, everyone else dropped it, but for some reason after he finishes reading the last one, the actual apocalypse happens. And so now he has this hidden knowledge of how to survive the apocalypse. Things are coming true from the book. There's even main characters that were from the book that are showing up, and he's like, do I change things? Do I get rid of them? Do I create them to become my ally? What am I going to do? Man, this just at the edge of my seat. When the anime comes out, this is going to be one of the most popular. This will be #1, I guarantee, when it comes out. It is so good. Highly recommend. I don't know if I said it, but all the Eyes press line, which I appreciate too, everything is in color, and man, I really appreciate these manga. I love getting everything in color. These are great comics. And the last series I picked up from the Eyes press line, this is Jungle Juice Volume 6. This reminds me of kind of like X-Men, except for everyone has insect powers, which I know it'd be kind of weird, but this one I do appreciate. There is a lot more the consequences to the decisions. Some people do not make it out alive. Man, very good. And then there's this idea, almost like a zombie, a little bit of feeding, where you have these cravings of an insect, your primal instincts, where maybe you now want to try to like hunt a human, even though you don't want to hunt the humans and you want to hunt the bad guys instead. So I thoroughly enjoyed this for what it is. If you're looking for just an X-Men sort of just comic type of series, but with a twist of it being insects, this is really good, and it gives you cool bug facts, which I wasn't expecting. Next on our list, let's now talk about ongoing or missing titles I received from Kodansha. First we picked up was Fable Volume 5. I really like this series. It's moving towards my top 20 of best series of all time. This series is about an assassin who has to lay low for a year, and he's just trying to figure out life. So it's like he's forced to go into a slice of life, even though he's an assassin, and as you know, you can't really just lay low as an assassin, so many things keep coming on. I will say this is definitely not for kids whatsoever. Kodansha has big warnings on this, and Kodansha even does a good job saying, hey, there's things that happen in this that are wrong in real life and are still wrong, saying will always not be okay. So I did appreciate that Kodansha get a warning, not for kids whatsoever, but man, it's just so many moments I'm just laughing out loud. There's a girl who, for fun, because she gets bored, she ends up getting guys to drink too much and having them pass out, and then you're seeing this where she can handle her liquor very well, but the boys are trying to swoo her can't, and just so many funny antics. Really have enjoyed the Fable so far, and I'm excited to know it's a lot longer series than I was expecting. And then last from Kodansha for ongoing, we picked up Blue Lock Volume 16. This is a kind of a battle royale soccer series. You start in the beginning where instead of people being eliminated and just killed, but this idea that if you don't make it in the next round, people get slowly removed, and they start with a couple hundred players, and they're whittling down to who's going to go on and take on representing Japan. Man, so many intense times. This is one of my favorite ongoing sports series, and I love that Kodansha announced they're now going to create them coming out monthly, so that way we can get caught up with Japan. So if you're looking for a good sports series, I highly recommend checking out Blue Lock. Unfortunately, there is some language, which I'm surprised because they make it 16 plus, and because of that, if they didn't have the language in there, I could easily see this just be for teens. But man, really enjoy Blue Lock. Edge of my seat every time, wanting to know what's going to happen next on the field. And there's something to be said about a series that makes you care about a sport that you weren't really wearing. So I don't really know a whole lot about soccer, but after watching reading Blue Lock, man, I was really into it. Let's go ahead and now check out ongoing and missing titles I received from smaller publishers. First, I got for 7 Seas. This is the 7th Time Loop Volume 4 and Volume 6, which is the latest volume. I just heard so many good things about this series. Laura has brought up how much she enjoyed this series, so I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and pick it up. The problem is Volume 2 is in between prints, so I now have the entire series except for Volume 2. Once we get Volume 2, we'll read the whole thing, and I'd love to give you a mini review on the 7th Time Loop, just because I've heard so many great things. Next I picked up is Centaurs from Ablaze Volume 3. This also made my top 10 most unrated series currently. This is really good. If you're following these centaurs, and as they're trying to live with the humans, and then humans are enslaving the centaurs and essentially making them workhorses or do their bidding for them. And man, there's so much just history and just the world building, and man, you really feel for the centaurs as they're trying to flee from the humans and just have their own way of life. The pacing's really good as you're following, just having to remember consequences that happened before. Do we forgive the humans? Do we not let them go? Are they going to betray us again? Do we try to bring restoration together? Very, very good. I highly recommend checking out. The first volume should hook you enough to know that this is a great series. Speaking of good titles, I also picked up March Comes In Like a Lion Volume 3 from Dempa. This is a story about a shogi player, and I gotta say, I got emotional with this one. And man, Dempa, they knock it out of the park. Look at these French flaps. They're actually in color. We even get a poster from them. I mean, man, Dempa. And for the price and the paper, you cannot go wrong. I would say that besides a long publishing time for getting some of these titles, Dempa probably is the best quality and bang for your buck you're gonna get from a manga publisher. They are the best for quality and price, and they do a great job. I actually love, they are the gold standard when it comes to quality. It's just, it can take a while. I think there's like 17 volumes from March Comes In at the Line, and within the last 2 years, I think we've only gotten 3 volumes. So I hope we can pick up the pace and we can get these more frequently. I hope we can at least get, man, if we could get to, I don't know, volume 6 by the end of the year, that would even be fantastic. Which I feel like I'm saying a lot. It's saying a lot for asking for 3 and at the same time not, but that would be fantastic. This is just a really good wholesome series. You're following this guy who is a shogi player. Does he want to be a shogi player or he doesn't? He's really good at it even though he's not getting joy from it. And then he just realizes he just not be alone, and there's just a wholesome people that come alongside of him. So you have a little slice of life aspect to it, you have some drama to it, and just people are trying to friend him. He doesn't know how to handle that, and man, so good. There's trauma just with other family members, of ones that favored him, ones that don't. People feel rejected. Very good. Man, this is one of the best series that are currently ongoing. Highly recommend. And then another great series from 7 Seas. This is Don't Call It Mystery, Volume 11 and 12. And man, the current arc has you hooked so much. The overarching story, as well as you're trying to find out what happened. I am loving this series so much as you're following this boy who is going to school to be a teacher, and he is almost like a modern day Sherlock Holmes, but he just says what he thinks, and he doesn't want to be a detective, but he keeps being thrown in these situations where he's having to solve different mysteries and crimes, and he's just really good at it. He says things where he should put his foot in his mouth, but he's very articulate. He understands where people are coming from. Just the things that come in his mind are just so random, but I will say there's a lot of heavy dialogue. So if you're okay with a lot of dialogue, this is probably one of the best shoujo series that's currently available. And this is from the same author that gave us Basara and 7 Seas. I am absolutely loving it. Now I think the next 2-in-1 that we're gonna get is gonna be the last one we get for a long time, because I believe we'll be caught up in Japan. I do appreciate 7 Seas is bringing us here really fast, but man, this has been so good, and man, they really gripped me with this volume. This has made everything worth it. I love Don't Call It Mystery. Okay, now let's go ahead and move on to New to Me from Kodansha, and this is one that people have recommended picking up, and that is Versus, and this is from the same author that gave us Mob Psycho 100 and One Punch Man. And I will say this, I probably give this probably a 6 or 7 out of 10. I want to get the other volumes. I think there's only 4 volumes out total so far this series. I guess I was expecting for a lot more humor, and I did not get that with this story, so that's shame on me. But it is an interesting concept as you're following the main heroes in this medieval fantasy setting. The world, they are on the brink of collapse because just the demons are way too strong. So what do instead is they decide to open a different dimension and have people from a different dimension take on these demons and save them. Well, when they do that, they open up a dimension of humans from a future reality, and they are also on the brink of collapse due to robot and AI going and destroying them. And then you have other ones are being brinked from a zombie invasion. Other ones are being brinked from a giant tree. Other ones that are on the blink of being destroyed because of God. Now you tie them all together, and they're trying to figure out, is there any way that we can survive? And they decided, let's go ahead and pit the demons against the AI and the tree against God. And and so forth, and maybe we can let them fight each other and we can come out alive somehow, make it okay. So it was intriguing, really good build up for the first volume. I will pick up the second volume to continue the series. I thought this one was okay, but it looks like they're building up to something epic, and I do hope for a little laughter in it, because man, he does such a good job with Mob Psycho and One Punch Man. But that is Versus for you. And then next, we did a review on this already, so if you click the eye on that right corner, you get more information. Shida no Joe, or Joe, Fighting for Tomorrow. This is a boxing series. Now, I thought I'll say the first thing, I thought this was okay. The biggest thing I was a little bothered by is just, man, for the price being $60 for something that has the same type of hardcover as a Vinland Saga, not the deluxe edition. And deluxe editions of Vinland Saga are cheaper. That was a bit of a bummer for it, but I'm very grateful that we're going ahead and we're getting this series. As many people, this is their favorite series of all time, and my guess is probably the IP was just very expensive to get in English, but thank you, Kodansha, for bringing that over. Let's go ahead and now move on to New to Me from Yen Press. And I'm not doing a typical, Yen Press where I had them separated, because we already did some videos for Yen Press. But let's go ahead and talk about some wonderful series. These are from our friends from Yen Press that sent me. Thank you so much, Yen Press. Tachi from the Bike Shop. This was on my top 10 for January recommendations of ones I was interested. I'm so glad they sent this. If not, I probably would have picked it up myself. This was really, really good. It's a Josei series as you're following this girl who's turning 30 and just her life's not where it wants to be, and she ends up running into this delinquent sort of guy. And then at first he really rubbed me the wrong way, and I was actually a little annoyed with this. I'm like, this isn't that good. And then towards the end, I'm like, oh, he's not that bad at all. Actually, he's a lot more caring. Actually, he's kind of nicer than her in some ways. And then at the end, I was just so locked in and loved with it, and I just thought, this is fantastic. So you're seeing them antics together. She's coming out of her shell. He's helping her. Her's helping him in some ways. Man, really, really good. If you're looking for an adult slice of life series, I highly recommend. This was fantastic. Also ongoing, this was really good. It surprised me it was in color. I picked up the World Strategy Guide. So this is a series. You see here, we have color here. This reminds me almost like an isekai series where a girl's in the mountains and she finds a strategy guide for the actual world. And I think, well, that'd be in our world if all of a sudden you found a strategy guide. So she's looking at her own, she's like, oh, my own town is in it. Hey, it says here that there is, gold under this tree. You know what? There is gold on this tree. Hey, there's some quest on here. It says there's a quest here to save a person. I didn't know that person was in danger. So it was really interesting. Could you imagine? I feel like kind of like when we play like a video game and you actually, back in the day, you went and bought a strategy guide, where now just everything's online, it's free. I miss those paper strategy guides, and I love this story. I loved that she has a strategy guide and now she's trying to follow things from it, make changes to it. Really, really good. I thought it was a great first volume. So if you like those isekai-ish type of series, I think it scratches that same itch. Man, I really enjoyed this, and it was in color. Another series I really enjoyed, I want to get the second volume because this gripped me right away. This is the manga Hell is Dark with No Flowers. You're following a character here who just so happens is now working with a demonic figure. I don't want to give spoilers. And people are coming in, and it's almost like a little bit of mystery as people have the ability to confess and get forgiven, or they can go ahead and choose to refuse, live in denial, and go ahead and continue on their terrible past and their terrible ways. And man, the story in this one it really got me. I will say this is not for kids whatsoever. Man, but it really gripped me. It was a heavy story. You felt for the person at the same time you didn't. So there's something to be said where you feel bad for a person and not at the same time. I really enjoy this. I highly recommend picking this up if you're looking for something a bit more on the dark fantasy-ish side with a bit of detectiveness, but also just revealing from people's past. This was very, very, very good. And then the next thing, which this made not only for January, but this is also on my top 10 series I recommend coming out for this year, ones I'm highly recommend, I'm looking forward to. We've talked about this already, but I'll talk about it again. The Color of the End. This is fantastic. This is about a girl who's kind of like, her job is to clean different areas, as it reminds me of War of the Worlds, where people have gone onto the aliens came, but then they're not there anymore. But it left this type of plague on people that people aren't making it, so she's looking for survivors at the same time. She's trying to make different places livable for others, and somehow she's not affected by that plague. So it reminds me of Blam a little bit, just with the world building. Man, it just, then the artwork is just fantastic. So I was really gripped by this story. Man, I just was so enamored by it. I want to know more about this world. I want to know more about this world building. I want to follow the girl more in her eyes as she goes to different places. Will she meet people? Will she not? Can humans survive again? This was fantastic. Next I picked up, this is awesome. It's a one-shot. I didn't realize it was going to be in hardcover. This is a Hereditary Triangle. This is almost a little bit of a three-way triangle where one boy liked this girl, and then this girl didn't like him, but she liked his friend, and his friend also liked her. So you have this love triangle of two boys liking this girl, but the girl only likes one. And then they end up, the one guy ends up being able to marry that girl, and the other person doesn't. And then something happens in the story, and now you're seeing just later on in the future, and you're seeing what were the ramifications of who that girl picked, and maybe did she really pick the right one? Should she have picked the other guy? And is she happy or not? So if you're looking for a good one-shot series, I did enjoy this one-shot from them. And again, I really appreciate too, it's in hardcover, but so it was a good slice of life series that made you think a bit. So Hereditary Triangle, and then last we got from them, we did a video for this, which did well. This is the deluxe edition of Ubel Black. This is definitely not for kids whatsoever. I absolutely love the edition itself, though. I thought they did a great job. And I did watch the first episode of the anime, which is a lot more tame. And I would not use the anime to determine whether or not this is good for kids, but I will say this is definitely not for kids whatsoever, and some of it was a little too heavy for me. Actually, it was too heavy for me. So, but Ubel Black. And let's talk about the last thing we have for you, and that is a box set. So if you stuck to it, thank you so much. You've actually, if you watched the other video, I do a video where we talk about the whole box set. We got a Delicious in the Dungeon. This is phenomenal. Yen Press does a gold standard when it comes to box sets. They do a really good job. Pandora Hearts is another fantastic one they did. But I love this. This is a metal clip. And if we see here, it's heavy, but we have 14 volumes, as I'm struggling to open it here, of Deliciousness. Now, Delicious in the Dungeon, my daughter loved this series, so did my son. My son is going to be 13, and my daughter's going to be 14, and they really enjoyed this series. So if you're looking for the anime, the anime did very well as well, but if you're looking for a fantasy series, the story starts off with is they're fighting a dragon, and then they teleport out because they're not going to make it, but the main character's sister ends up getting eaten by the dragon. But dragon has a very long digestive system, and it takes a while to get people through. So they're going to try to go back and rescue her and get her before the dragon's able to digest her all the way. And the problem is they don't have enough supplies, but they're running out of time, so they decide to eat their way there through eating the different monsters that they find, and it becomes this cooking recipe type of thing. So it becomes a cooking manga-ish and a fantasy series where they're cooking the different monsters. You get different recipes from that. I'm sure they're gonna have a cookbook for this, which would be entertaining. So that is Delicious in the Dungeon. Hands off. Thank you so much for Yen Press. This was phenomenal. So that is everything we picked up for this past month of January. Again, I'd love to know in the comments below, what are you reading? What did you pick up? As it's great in this community discussion to discuss different series that is going on. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.